Saludos!
Greetings, we're Leslie and Vic Troutwine. We've worked with Kids Alive in the Dominican Republic for the last 22 years.
I'm the Director of Health Services and Work in Communications.
I'm the Co-Country Director and Director of Operations.
Welcome to our Fall Progress Report with gratitud y alegria.
We're bringing you this report with gratitude and joy about the progress of the Kids Alive ministries in the DR.
For 35 years now, Kids Alive has been serving vulnerable children and youth in the Dominican Republic. We've grown to serve 2,500 children and youth through 7 schools, 3 residential programs, which are like campus-style foster care, as well as an independence program, which includes university scholarships. We intentionally work in difficult communities where there are numerous vulnerable children. And God is using Kids Alive to transform individual lives, families, and communities here.
Leslie and I served personally in the Dominican Republic for 22 years. This graph shows the growth of our largest model program, the schools. In 2008, we had 2 schools with approximately 400 kids. With God's provision, we've grown to close to 2,000 kids in the last 15 years. These schools are holistic care schools that help kids transform lives in many ways. They help kids spiritually, emotionally, and physically, educationally, and also provide a safe place where they can understand God's protection and His love.
At Kids Alive, we use 4 global goals to provide faith-based, life-changing care for vulnerable children, families, and communities. Our first global goal is that every child enjoys a vibrant, life-changing relationship with God.
Ultimately, we hope to see all our children trust God. We provide biblical training to our staff and our children. Teaching God's Word is central to our after-school sports programs, as well as in the day-to-day of the schools. Each school day begins with prayer and a devotion. Students attend regular chapel services, and as they become older, have Bible classes. Our high school students meet in small groups, and we also use Awanas as part of our discipleship program, building on the foundation they have received since they were young. We are excited to know many graduates who have vibrant relationships with the Lord and are active in their churches and communities.
That video showed the different ways that we help kids to develop a vibrant relationship with God. This slide shows the results of a recent survey that we did with some older youth at one of our high schools. This was a group of 32 kids in 10th to 12th grade at our oldest school in Nija. Really encouragingly, this is an anonymous survey. 80% said they'd made a profession of faith. 64% said that they either had been baptized or planned to be baptized when they were 18. And almost 90% were attending a church regularly. That's good news. Additionally, another really fun fact is the summer before we did a pretty big survey of graduates from 10 years ago from some of our older schools. And we've come to believe that a Kids Alive kid is 5 times more likely to be part of a church as an adult than a non-Kids Alive peer. And that's really encouraging news for our youth and their families, as well as our staff and our communities.
Our second global goal is that every child experiences emotional and physical well-being.
All our campuses provide a safe place to run and play. Annually, we check heights and weights of our students. And those who are failing to thrive, we place into our supplemental nutrition programs, in addition to the healthy meals they receive daily. We have dentists that serve on 3 of our campuses. We welcome visiting dentists and hygienists. Recess, PE, and after-school sports provide important physical and mental activities, promoting growth and wellness. Healthcare workers provide basic care on each campus. Along with our social workers, we walk with families through acute and chronic illnesses. By God's grace and with the help of our staff, children and their families have access to physical and emotional support.
We work hard to help kids that come from hard places to grow up both physically and emotionally well. In recent years, we've added or increased the effectiveness of many programs in this area, including our nutrition and supplemental nutrition program, dental care, after-school sports, and counseling. We now have clinical counseling, educational counseling, and biblical counseling, and have more than doubled the number of staff across all our programs in that area. A really fun fact is that all of our workers, all 350 of our workers, have been trained in how to build trust and connection with children. This is from the gatekeepers to the accountants to the teachers and caregivers. And this allows us to really to guide them away from danger and toward hope.
Our third global goal is that every child is equipped for a life of independence and service.
This teacher, who is the provider for her family of 10, was once a child at risk in the very school where she now models service. We instruct and guide students in daily life skills. It is a joy to see their self-esteem and dignity grow as they put them into practice. We start by teaching 3- and 4-year-olds letters, who go on to become professionals like this doctor with a family of her own now. From first graders who are proud readers with big dreams, to teens and adults who graduate from our Job Skills, Life Skills extracurricular course, we work diligently over the years to equip children and youth for lives of independence and service. Through training and teaching, modeling and mentoring, we give them opportunities to fly, and they sometimes return as professionals to work with us.
We have lots of depth in our programs to help kids be prepared for a life of independence and service, from a strong early reading and math program, small class sizes, tutoring opportunities, and a large window is sometimes we're working with kids from 3 to 4 years old all the way to 22 years old. One recent addition has been a certificate program for life skills, job skills that this year we're putting into some of the high school classes as well. And a really fun fact is, in the communities we serve, some recent studies we have done there show us that our kids are 3 times more likely to graduate, or up to 3 times more likely to graduate from high schools than non-Kids Alive peers in the same communities.
Our fourth global goal is that every child lives in a family and community free of fear and violence.
Our campuses are intentionally safe, physically and emotionally. Trained in trauma-competent care, our staff are safe adults for students, something they're often lacking in their lives. Through this modeling, we see children growing up to become safe adults in their families and communities. We provide counseling for children as well as their families. We have Parents School with hopes of equipping the adults in their lives with skills and practices that they did not experience as children. We work collaboratively with the government and with local churches. We provide specific trainings, such as conflict resolution. God is using Kids Alive for 35 years in some communities, and we're seeing transformation, young adult Christians and families changing their communities.
The children we serve come from challenging communities, often full of drugs and alcohol, broken families, and violence. We work hard to create intentionally safe campuses where kids can thrive. We also work to help families and improve the communities. We have parent schools at each of our schools to help to teach good discipline methods for kids, and good ways to correct and strengthen families. We also work to teach good conflict resolution, both among students on our campuses and within families. And when things are beyond our authority, we'll work with the government to collaborate to help make a community safer. The real fun fact is we had the leaders of AXI, Association of Christian Schools International, from the Dominican Republic at one of our schools in Constanza recently. And they asked a group of students what they loved about their school. And the kids, as a group of about 30, responded that one of the things they loved was the way that they were disciplined in the school, because they viewed it as both fair and loving, which was a surprising answer to the visitors and encouraging to us.
We have the privilege of seeing these goals come to fruition in the lives of many youth. Francie is one example. In 2009, our directors Cami and Romulo started a tutoring program in a dangerous drug-infested barrio for kids who are not in school and often without safe adults in their lives. In addition to academics, they provided food, loving care, and mentoring. As a 6-year-old, Francie was in the first group that was served. His single mom struggled to provide for him and his 7 siblings, living in a tiny, humble home with no consistent income. Francie had little hope of attending school, much less graduating from high school. Today, Francie is a healthy, thriving Christian university student who is now coaching soccer and discipling kids in the same program he grew up in. Francie, along with some of our other graduates, are now transformational forces in the lives of their families, communities, and churches.
This is a schematic of our holistic care system. We currently serve about 2,500 children and youth, and they're all coming from difficult circumstances like hunger, neglect, or abuse. We help them along educationally, physically, emotionally, socially, and spiritually, from ages 3 and 4 all the way to 22, with the goal of them becoming impact Christians who can help themselves, their families, their churches, and communities. One exciting thing is that many of our graduates are now some of our best workers. Approximately 20% of our workforce were formerly vulnerable kids in one of our schools or residential programs, and now they're helping to transform the lives of other children, which is super exciting for us.
This fall, we welcomed about 200 new children and youth, mostly preschoolers, but with a few older kids scattered in the upper grades. This represents about 100 new families we get to start walking with for the next maybe even 2 decades. Additionally, our recent high school grads are applying to our university scholarship program. Many of their parents did not make it through 8th grade, so it's a great joy for us to partner with these students and families and see where God takes them.
Leslie just talked about the many new students coming in and the families that we have the opportunities to help, but that requires resources. We try to be really great stewards of the funds that are given us to use to help kids, and this graph shows the efficiency of our system. The $15,600 number is what the U.S. government says is the average cost of a public school student for basic or secondary education in the United States in 2023. In some places like New York City and Chicago, it's more like $29,000 per year per student. Our system's operating, and remember, this is holistic, it's often life-changing care with spiritual, nutrition, medical, as well as academic education, even after-school sports. And our costs are less than 10% of the average in the United States, a little over $100 per year per month per student, or $1,300 a year. And that's so there's a big bang for the buck in a place like the Dominican Republic, and for life-changing help for kids. As we approach Giving Tuesday and the end of the year, we're trying to finish well and refuel our plane for 2025. That's a DC-3, by the way, pictured below if you like old planes. DC-3s are famous for long-term reliable service to remote places. To have sufficient funds for what we hope to have 90 scholarships, 200 kids, medical help, and sports programs, we'd like to raise an additional $500,000 to $600,000 by the end of the year to be ready for 2025. That represents the last 18% of the approximately $3.1 million we're spending per year helping vulnerable children and youth. Any size donation helps. Finally, we ended the other slides with fun facts. We'd like you to help us test what we'll call a fun theory, that Kids Alive donors experience more gratitude and joy and are more likely to smile than their less generous peers.
So we look forward to hearing from you about that one. Well, if you made it this far, we're truly grateful.
We really appreciate your prayers, encouragement, and support as we work together to transform lives for God's glory.
Que Dios les bendiga.
God bless you.
Adios.
Adios.